Good evening, Free Enterprise viewers, and welcome to this opening match of the quarterfinals of the Blue Moon Waxing Bracket of the Zemus Zone 5 tournament between Kyrios and Gambit017. My name is Eskrent. Joining me on the Restream crew today are Neil Bari, handling the Restream, Zold pushing the buttons, and joining me behind the microphones today is Smapety. How are you doing tonight?
Doing fantastic, my fellow S-name commentator here. Quarterfinal action tonight. This is going to be exciting. This is, of course, game one. These are best 2 out of 3. So whoever wins tonight is going to get an advantage in this series. And both runners going to be clawing for that because that is no one wants to be up against the wall.
Absolutely. And it looks like we've got ourselves a Kane start today and a selection of some interesting bosses here. What do you make of this set?
Well, it's Green Kane, which of course calls to mind the images of the Kane art from Nintendo Power back when Final Fantasy IV was first released as Final Fantasy II. Definitely Google that if you want to be scarred for life. Kane, very solid start. We've always seen dips into Eblan Castle looking for loot early. Kane is one of the characters that can really make good use of that. Grabbing something like defense sword or a high-tier spear can give you a solid melee character going into the hook route.
Yeah, Kane is probably not the greatest character, but he's certainly, at the very least, average at just about anything that he can do. And who knows, if we get enough mage characters, he might just be the solution for a Valvalis in a rude spot that we're looking for. So I guess in just a few moments here, we'll be seeing who are other starting characters, who are other key enemies, and then not too long after that, we'll be seeing who else will be in our party today.
Speaking of rudeness, rolling a lot of the dragons here for bosses, including Blarg himself. Some kind of nasty fights here. Octomammoth in a high-speed, high-damage spot up on the moon can be kind of a pain. And, of course, no one wants to run into Wyvern unprepared, but looks like our runners are ready to go.
Alright, and we have an Edge as our second starting character, Dr. Luge as the boss in Castle, and just a Strength Ring as that key item. Edge is possibly one of the best starting characters to have. His starting agility will let him basically outspeed almost all of the bosses in the overworld. That Strength Ring is going to be nice to stick on him to deal that damage. And now in the Blue Moon Plague set specifically, we do have Steam Neki enabled, so Edge doesn't get his usual starting complement of equipment, neither does Kane for that matter. So we've got two characters right off the start here who are going to be looking for a lot of equipment that we need in order to get them up and running here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe a little bit more looting than we're used to seeing, just because, these are melee characters that are going to benefit a lot from that gear. And but yeah, Edge, fantastic. And not only just as a melee character, but any of these early multi-target fights, just throw some ninjutsu at it and you're fine.
And it looks like we've got Yang and Edward as our two characters in Mysidia. Both of our running selected to go and figure out who the rest of their party is, at least in terms of these two characters first. If we're on the hunt for equipment, Yang will benefit from claws, but for the most part doesn't need a heck of a lot of equipment. Yang is often referred to as the punch mage because he starts off fairly weak. He doesn't need a heck of a lot of equipment, but if you stick with him in the long run, will overpower just about anything else towards the end of the game.
I'm a little excited here. After seeing so many mage-heavy seeds as of late, no mages so far. I would love to see like an entire physical team and see how our runners try to manage that.
Yeah, sometimes you just want to let people hit things. We've got Gambit in Watery Pass for a character check. That's Rosa sitting over. There's our white mage. That's good. Kyrios is in Dempsey Castle. There's a fair amount of loot here, but there's also a character check here. So we'll see almost all of the characters in the scene by the time Kyrios gets up to the top of the castle and launches the hovercraft.
Yeah, Rosa, possibly one of the most perfect characters you can find in the team like this so far. She just supports your melee character so well and can even contribute physically herself. Managed to find something like a heroine robe and a high-tier bow.
Yeah, I mean, Rosa's very versatile. Possibly the main weakness of Rosa versus a certain other white mage, who I haven't seen yet, is that Rosa doesn't learn exit naturally. You are required to go through. Oh, there's Cecil in Castle. We are looking at the power party here, folks. This is we've got a complement of possibly some of the strongest physical attackers in the game here.
Yeah, this is one of the strongest teams I've seen in a while in one of these seeds.
And we haven't even seen our last character yet.
Precisely. Yeah, the only thing you're really missing right now is maybe a Tella or a Sid to serve as a late game anchor. But honestly, any character can fit in that if you don't want to use them. So
yeah, one of the interesting things that I'm thinking about this, we haven't seen our last character yet, but it's possible at this point that we are not going to see any black mages in this seed. No one that can cast Warp, which will be relevant later on when we get into Underground and see what Dwarf Castle has to offer us, because with the Blue Moon flag set specifically, we do have the Warp glitch on, which if you've got someone who's capable of casting Warp by the time you finish the main Dwarf Castle check, you can cast Warp to go in and basically claim the sealed cave item immediately afterwards, but that might not be on the table this time around.
Yeah, another interesting thing there is we do have Odin as one of the bosses there, and that is a huge DPS race. And while physical characters can hit hard, going into Odin without a source of burst lightning damage can be a little bit tricky if he's got a lot of HP.
Yeah, well, depending on where Odin shows up, I think we've got more than enough damage out. But there's Gambit checks the waterfall, finds the other Dark Knight. That is one of our required bosses. This deals a pittance in physical damage. The waterfall boss spot is actually one of the fastest boss spots in the overworld, so you don't necessarily see people in a position to take this fight immediately, but you can see these, 20 to 30 damage. This fight is eminently doable right now, leaving only Edward face down in the water here, and we do get a pan from Edward in Troya Castle as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we try to see a fade of Fabul here with that early pan. There's always that temptation to try to go for the triple dip in Fabul, and if the hook isn't waiting there, might as well try to get some efficiency there. It's not as though we're going to be hurting for damage with this party, and full clearing the overworld maybe not that necessary.
Well, I for one certainly hope that pans out for our racers. Yeah,
I think it's a pretty cast iron plan, myself.
Well, it certainly has a bit of a hook to it. Yeah. Well, of course, that still requires that we're going to find the hook somewhere which isn't exactly Fabul Castle in order to get away with that. Exactly. The Blue Moon flag set does have the forced hook route, so we're guaranteed that the magma key is going to be only available somewhere after you go down the hook route, somewhere which is gated by underground access. So Kyrios is climbing Mount Ordeals here, and in just a moment we're going to see who our last character of the seed is.
Yeah, I'm curious if this is going to be more than just a character check. It is Porum, so you have your favorite white mages here.
And no black mages. Kyrios likes to get rid of Kane, taking the 2 white mages there.
I don't hate that. When you're going down that hook route and you're going up against something punchy, you want as much defense as possible, and 2 characters leveled up, able to cast Blink is going to be a huge benefit if that's the case.
Oh yeah, having the utility of 2 white mages on hand here is going to be tremendously useful for this. Given enough experience on Porum, we're also going to get exit fairly early, which will be handy for probably the earliest possible place that's going to be relevant is if you're going into Antline Cave or if you're inclined to loot Watery Pass here. So Kyrios is taking the bosses. We get a Lunar Sparkle as the first boss on Mount Ordeals here. What have we got? That's Pale Dim.
Oh, we still need this boss.
Okay, let's see if I can do this. We need a J-Mac in the booth to get away with that.
That was a pretty good slow impression.
Thank you.
Yeah. I knew what you were going for.
Yeah.
Now give me yourself.
We'll have to wait. Well, unfortunately, I don't think I can get away with that because we don't have Iridia this scene. All
right, fair. You're off the hook this time, which we're still looking for.
Yeah. Well, with any luck, it is possible that the hook is going to be the item that we get here at the top of Ordeals. It could be possible that it's nothing at all, of course, because we've still got plenty of other checks on the table in the overworld. So we still have 2 more bosses to get through. We're going to see what the item is in just a few moments, but we've still got plenty of spots left on the overworld to look in. Theron Inn, Antline Cave, Fabul itself, of course, although I'm sure our racers are hoping with that pan in hand that they won't need to do that. Well, at least Kyrios is hoping that, as Gambit doesn't have the pan yet.
Yeah, but I know both of our runners with a party this powerful are eager to just get underway on this seed. get that hook and get underground. Though I doubt either of them are going to head down Eblan Cave without at least poking into Eblan Castle with just how much potential opportunity is there for
and this is an Octomammoth in the second spot. So we have found 3 of our required bosses so far. Neobara probably has somewhere to be tonight at this rate. Octomam in this spot is not going to be overly threatening, especially not when you've got that edge as your anchor here, because again, while it can throw out some punches, Octomam of course does slow down as you keep hitting it. Edge is going to outspeed it. Most of the party will be able to act faster than it here. So we should be good here.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits for having Edge so early is just because of the way agility works. You sort of want a fast character in the middle in the early game, and then when you get into the late game, you want to switch that up and get a slow character there instead. Edge doesn't get much faster than him. He is perfect for keeping your team active and taking lots and lots of turns here early on.
Yeah, I'm certainly one to favor even the Edge start seeds. It
just solves so many problems.
Yeah, it's not as though I run a flag set that has Edge as the starting character or anything. But Octomammoth is down, getting to that 3,000 hit points here with speed. Interestingly enough, Porum is on the floor here. One wonders if that's intentional throughout those first 2 fights, and that we might be treating Porum as an anchor in the short term. But with that, in just a few moments, we'll be in the mirror room. We'll see the key item first, if it is a key item. We'll be seeing the next boss after that. And most importantly, possibly for this check, depending on what that key item and who that boss is, this is also, immediately after getting the key item, is the moment when Dark Knight Cecil becomes Paladin Cecil and becomes the powerhouse of the rest of the seed, given the right equipment.
Yeah, indeed. We haven't found anything particularly useful for him right now, but again, that Eblan Castle check usually is something that Cecil really, really enjoys. Just so much high-tier loot available on the table for him.
And the value of that rat tail is indeterminate right now. We're not going to be seeing what that is until we've got the hook in hand. We have the officer-soldier fight as the fight here. This is a bit disappointing to see here. This fight is very easy to get through. These enemies do not have the boss bit set. So you're generally hoping for this fight to show up in a much tougher boss spot than this normally fairly free fight is.
And yes, answering Zalde, our tracker, in chat here, absolutely, Cecil is the best magical girl.
All right, we have Paladin Cecil in hand here. So with Kyrios having the as he's sometimes referred to, the guy in hand, do we think Kyrios is going to be looking for more key items at this point, or do we expect to see perhaps a raid of Eblan Castle or some other loot location in the efforts of finding the stick to go with the guy?
I'd be tempted to just keep going for key items, hit the spots you need, and hit Eblan Castle. It's not like you're hurting for power right now.
Yeah.
So just do what's on the table, because you could hit an Earth Crystal, and an early treasury might completely negate the need to even go into Eblan Castle.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And there's a couple of spots left on the table where we're going anyway, like Atlan Cave, for example, where you might be able to look around a little bit, poke around a little bit, maybe pull something from one of those chests. But we do indeed see Kyrios heading directly to Eblan Castle from here.
It's an aggressive play. Kyrios is saying, I can handle these fights, but I want unlimited power right now. Give it to me. I don't want to worry any more of the seed. I like it.
Yeah, so Eblan Castle is a little bit notorious with the T. Wilder's treasure segment we've got on Blue Moon. We can find very high quality gear even in the regular untrapped chest here, but really a lot of people are going here. That, speaking of quality items, that is an Avenger from a random chest. This may be the play here. Ninja Blade from another chest.
Unbelievable.
But as I was saying, the trap chests here are one of the earliest opportunities.
Embarrass saw me! We haven't even got to a trap chest yet, Espen.
And people think I'm generous with your loot. The trap chests are one of the earliest opportunities you hear to get the tier 8 items, which include the Crystal Sword and the Excalibur, the 2 highest power normally available swords for Cecil. Of course, there's the opportunity for something like the Lightbringer from Supersmith, which is even more powerful, but that is extremely rare and not something that you'll find in a random trap chest. So here's the first of the trap chests, the Black Cat Lamia chest. This is a little bit tricky because all three of these enemies will counterattack. If you can't kill them in one hit, the Black Cats will counter with Bluster, which either paralyzes or kills one of your party members. The Lamia will counter with Charm, which will cause one of your party members to start attacking your party. So we better hope that
on edge. That's bad news right now.
Yeah. So I mean, we've got the gear on edge to be able to at least one-shot the Black Cats here. The Lamia might be a slightly more difficult here.
Heads up play here using Cecil in the back row to cover Edge, being the MVP right now, protect the president.
Yeah, and we do see a life potion come out on one of the Black Cats. Why might we be seeing that?
So a fun little idiosyncrasy of Final Fantasy IV is that the game uses your stamina stat to determine how much HP you have when you're revived from a life spell or a life potion. Well, incidentally, they didn't think you'd be using life spell on enemies, so every enemy is just set to 0 stamina. Well, that means if you do use a life potion on an enemy, they're restored with 0 HP. So even though you don't see it, they actually die twice if you use a life potion on it, and you get double the experience, which is going to be huge here early on. And there's another whatever. Edge is crap. Edge is absolutely crap.
We now have a very finely honed Edge on hand here.
That is the fabled Masamune Murasame combo, and yeah, that Edge is good to go the rest of the freaking game.
Okay, meanwhile, Gambit is, having not found that pan, is in Fabul right now. Looking at the shops, we'll see if Gambit does the Fabul defense here. Looks like Gambit is indeed heading up to defend Fabul here, as Kyrios finds the second of the 3 trap chests here, the Mad Ogre's chest. These Mad Ogres are highly resistant to magic, although the game also classifies them as mages for whatever reason. So if you've got a mute knife or something here, they will die extremely quickly. Lo and behold, Kyrios has a mute knife. Look at that damage output.
Yeah, the lovely thing is when for the dual wielding characters Edge and Yang, it just the effects of any weapon in either hand are combined for the whole attack. So even Edge's main hand attacks are getting that effective damage bonus, which is why he's one-shotting these ogres.
Our tracker point to get here that just like Yang, these ogres are punch mages.
Very much so.
Yeah, Gambit has found Atline as the boss at Fabul Defense. Atline will counter any attack using the fight command. We can see Kane's jumps are not triggering the counter attacks, but Edge's hits are. So that was, I believe, just a ninja star out of that trap chest, the Mad Ogre's chest.
Yeah, nothing terribly exciting, but I mean, you can't complain after everything we've gotten so far.
Yeah, and at least we do have the Edge that's able to make use of that. Alright, so that's to the 3 trap chests, and the item from Fabul is the hook. We're not going to be fading Fabul today, folks.
So yeah, that is actually really beneficial for Gambit that he didn't pick up that pan first, because that might have incentivized him to put off Fabul till last, but now he's got the hook in hand, so his options are have very much opened up.
Yeah, so we'll see what Kyrios does after this. Probably doing a lot of the non-Fabul checks. We might see Kyrios last location in the hook here. So here's the third and last trap chest, the Staleman Skull chest. The skulls die to a single cast of flame, as we just saw. The Staleman is surprisingly fast, and its attacks hurt and can inflict sleep on your party members. There's a group of people in the community that view the 2 Staleman chests, that's the trap chest on the Cape Evelyn hook route, as one of the worst trap chests in the game. Gambit heads up Mount Hobbs and finds a D-Mist up there. Since we do have the free key item from Edward in this flag set, D-Mist is not important to us.
Yep, just another boss here. Nothing. Are you kidding me? Are you joking right now?
This is one of the best Eblan castles I have seen in an extremely long time.
I'm speechless. I have never seen a loot pool this absolutely loaded.
But yes, that
unbelievable.
That item from the Staleman Skull Chest was the Crystal Sword, the most powerful, normally available weapon in the game, and we have Cecil here to wield it.
And I mean, not only does Cecil have the Crystal Sword, but he has the Avenger as well.
Yeah,
he can set up Auto Berserk on himself and inherit the properties and the damage of the Crystal Sword because of a glitch that doesn't actually reset the properties of the Avenger onto the character if you swap to it mid-battle. So he gets the best of both worlds. He doesn't even need to worry about Bacchuses anymore. He can just set himself auto berserk whenever he wants.
All right, so both of our runners are now in Atline Cave. Gambit having found Plague as the boss and picking up the Baron Key as the key item here. I think we are going to see Kyrios do that Baron Key fairly soon after completing this check as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Leading him further away from that hook, which we now know is in Fabul. We do know at this point in time, Kyrios has the overwhelming equipment advantage. We'll see if Gambit eventually wants to head to Eblan Castle as well, to maybe indulge on some of that loot. But it's going to be a while, I think, before Kyrios finds that hook and is willing to and is in the position to head down the hook route.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation for both of our runners because Kyrios has every intention to put off getting the hook here, and has every reason to. And Gambit, just by virtue of the strength of this party, has every reason to put off going to Eblan Castle right now. So both of those places being real keys to this seed from what we've seen. Yeah.
Okay, Gambit catching up is going to get this pan in a second from Edward and Trya Castle. And Kyrios will be leaving Atlion, and I suspect we'll be heading over to Baron immediately. Now, notably, Cecil on Kyrios' side at this point, having done all those trap chests, does have Exit, but doesn't have the MP to cast it, so Kyrios needs to walk all the way out of Atlion Cave.
Yeah, appropriate that Edward be handing over the pan, because this seat is pandemonium.
Yes, very much so. Alright, Gambit, with the hook in hand, picks up the hovercraft and is on their way to turn in the rat tail, it looks like. Kyrios heads into Baron Inn first, and is probably going to do the rest of Baron Malbukar. That's CPU with the first spot here. You'll love to see it. CPU is a very annoying fight in many spots. Here, you can kill it with, one swing from Cecil. Then again, one swing from Crystal Sword Cecil is going to be killing most things this early in the game. Anyway, Gambit finds just an Assassin Dagger from the Rat Tail turn-in. That might have its uses later on. The Assassin Dagger has the ability to inflict Swoon, instantly defeating one of your enemies, which certainly has its uses in some cases.
Yeah, certainly with the equipment that we have available, maybe a little bit less valuable since Power Overwhelming is the best form of instant death. But yeah, that's a gauntlet. That's boss number 4.
Hello, Senator Crocodile.
Don't blame me. I voted for Piranha.
Yeah, so this is the alternate Fabul Gauntlet and the secondary in spot. Normally the Fabul Gauntlet is 6 fights of with fixed enemies in that are normally fought during the Defend Fabul sequence. The alt Gauntlet flag replaces it with 5 encounters from a nearby area. So that's we're seeing enemies here that you probably aren't going to see any other way in this game unless you happen to want to turn on encounters yourself. There's a comment from chat here that if Gambit chooses not to do Eblan Castle, this might get it of hand fairly quickly. We do, of course, need Kyrios to eventually last location. Well, I suspect Kyrios is going to last location the hook at the rate things are going here, but we'll be able to make up that time in fairly short order if Kyrios maintains the equipment advantage here.
Yeah, it would be difficult to imagine a situation where Gambit does choose to fade Eblan Castle just because the common wisdom in this tournament has been, when you have characters like Cecil and Edge, there's just so much potential in there, as we've seen on Kyrios' side. So it would strongly surprise me if Gambit fades it, but I mean, hey, it's the first out of a best 2 out of 3 set. Maybe you make some gambles to try to make some time up here.
Yeah, the other thing is that we still have things like the Earth Crystal on the table. It's perfectly possible that we get the Earth Crystal here or from the Baron check, and that the treasury itself might have some high tier gear as well. So if both runners end up doing that, we might end up with Crystal Sword Cecil on Gambit's side without needing to go through Eblan Castle at all. So we'll see.
Really digging this use of multi-target attacks by both teams here. We got the ninja attack going off on Kyrios. We got the J item use from Gambit, just really digging deep in your bag of tricks to make this incredibly lengthy series of fights go by a little quicker.
Yeah. Well, at least we're glad to see Senator Crocodile on the campaign trail here. Yes, as our runners finish up these fights, this is another wonderful opportunity to show out both of our runners, Kyrios and Gambit, showing skill and luck in finding the equipment and items that we've found so far, as well as Neobari handling the restream, Zold pushing the buttons, and of course my co-commentator Smithy.
Well, thank you, and a big thank to you as well, Asgrons, and all of our volunteers. We have been able to broadcast so many matches this tournament just thanks to the outpouring of support. We've had people donating their time and bandwidth to bring all these matches to you. So please give all of our volunteers a follow. Please show them your support. We really do appreciate everyone's hard work.
Yeah, and of course, we're always happy to have even more volunteers for the Restream team, or just if you're interested at all in the community and you aren't there already, joining the Discord is a wonderful place to go for more information and just to keep up to date on things going on with the tournament or even outside of the tournament. We're very welcoming. We'd be happy to have you there.
And that sadness as Gambit reaches into the ninja menu and is out of NP, has to punch through the rest of this. Tower key, not immediately useful, but that'll be good to keep in mind when we peek who is at the top of the tower when we get underground.
Yeah, so on the way down the hook road, you do have the opportunity to see who the boss at the top of tower is. You're probably going to be significantly more inclined to want to do that check sooner upon getting underground if you have that tower key in hand. Because the tower key, of course, unlocks the super cannon room, which is halfway up the tower. If you can possibly avoid it, you don't want to have to climb that tower twice because it takes quite a bit of time.
Yeah, we have seen many gutsy calls, though, of people doing half towers because they know the top isn't worth it to them. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. It's one of those plays that you keep in your back pocket and pull out if you think it's appropriate.
Yeah, and conversely, there are some opportunities where runners will get away with the keyless tower play, where you go all the way to the top. Maybe we've got a required boss up there. Maybe it's the last required boss that we're looking for. Where, despite not having the tower key, you want to head up there anyway, which is not going to happen this time around, of course.
I love Gambit going into the locked armory there to check and see what equipment is for sale. Oh, if only you knew it was in Eblan, my friend.
So Gambit did pull a cursed ring for one of those chests. That's going to be very important for a party anchoring setup later on in the seed.
Yeah, that's very interesting because, Kyrios obviously done looting at this point, everything that you need.
Yeah.
But Gambit doesn't know what's there, so is still doing a little bit of looting, and pulling that cursed ring actually giving him a little bit of an advantage over Kyrios because that cursed ring is so useful for anchoring properly in the last fight.
Yeah, the main application of the curse ring, of course. So we were talking a little bit earlier about how for the early game you want to have a fast character, in this case Edge, acting as the character in the center slot. Later on in the game, it's more useful to have a slow character in acting as your party anchor and setting the speed for the rest of your party. That's what that curse ring is useful for. It's minus 15 to all stats, most notably agility. The reason we consider this useful is because the simplest possible way that I've thought of to explain this is that there is a cap to how fast characters can move. So if the character in the center slot who's used to determine speed for everyone is sufficiently slow, everyone else just acts as quickly as possible.
Imagine you're waiting for a bus. Wait, no, I'm sorry, wrong thing.
Some characters in that spot can be as slow as a bus, and make everything zoom by in comparison. Anyway, Kyrios is through the Dr. Lugue fight as Gambit is entering that fight. We'll be seeing the first unknown boss in Baron here in just a moment, the one on the throne. That is a purple robe. That is one of the two variants of Mylon. Not one of the bosses we're looking for.
Nope, just the wrong elemental on the throne today.
Yep. Mylon and Friends, aka DJ Mylon's Electric Dance Party.
Boogie woogie woogie. You can feel it. It's a flame.
Yeah. Well, it'll come as a bit of a shock to anyone who's not expecting the counters here. Yeah, Mylon and Friends, it's not a very difficult fight to understand. You've got Mylon, you've got the four ghasts. The ghasts are very slow, normally don't act on their own unless you kill Mylon first for some reason. When Mylon's alone, Mylon will cast Lit 1 and occasionally physically hit things, also counters with Lit 1. But in the time it took for me to explain that, of course, Kyrios is through that fight.
Yeah, and while we didn't need that boss for our list, the key item here could potentially be Lit.
Yeah, we'll see in just a few moments. We already know that this is not underground access, but it could turn out to be relevant later on in the seed, depending on what it is. All right.
Oh, Porum, you're facing the wrong direction. You're not going to get proper leverage that way.
Sometimes it just works out like that. Okay, so here's our key item from Baron. We'll see what this is. It's just a stack of Artemis arrows, not the value we're looking for. Still possibly quite useful later on, especially with the preponderance of dragon-like enemies on the table that we're looking for. But not the key item we're looking for. Kyrios is heading back into Baron Castle and is headed on the way down to the Odin throne. This is an interesting play here.
Yeah, I like it. You're so powerful right now. Might as well check it while you're here and see if it's something you can even take. Might be able to take on.
Yeah. A lot of this is a late game boss spot. It's about on par with the. Ooh,
that's Water Hag.
That is Water Hag. Water Hag will punch hard, but I say that, and Edge takes less than 300 damage from that punch. All you need to do to defeat Water Hag is hit it 3 times and it dies. At least with the settings of this seed, if you've got the no free bosses flag on, it will continue punching even after that. But here we just need to hit it 3 times and it dies.
So this is interesting. Again, not a boss that we need, but this key item could be big, or this could prove to be a huge bust for the entirety of Baron Castle.
Yeah, Baron having 3 boss checks in a very boss hunt centric seed often has the value in this flag set. So we haven't seen, like, none of the bosses here are any of the ones we've been looking for. We do see the Darkness Crystal as the item. That's probably the best possible pull in this spot. The Darkness Crystal allows our runners to raise the Lunar Whale and hit up to both the Moon with its 6 boss checks and the Giant of Babel with a further 2 boss checks. The key item which unlocks the most amount of bosses in the game.
All right, so Eskrant, you're running the seed. How tempted are you to just completely skip the underground and go right to the Moon?
Okay, so with the power that I've got in Kyrios' hands right now, I'm certainly tempted to go up there sooner rather than later. We know from what we've seen on Gambit's side that there are 4 bosses that are available to us right now. We need to find 3 more of them, and chances are fairly high due to the density of checks up on the Moon that we're going to find at least 1, if not more of them up there. Yeah, there's some speculation in chat. So with the Darkness Crystal in hand, if you've got the right party set up, you can do what's known as the D-Machine grind. We can't do that this time around because we have no Black Mages, no one that can cast Weak on the D-Machines. And speaking of finding 4 bosses in the overworld, here's Kyrios checking Waterfall to find that Dark Knight as well. We'll be at 4 bosses.
Yep, that's going to put both of our runners at parity as far as bosses found.
I'm interested in seeing what Gambit does here. Does Gambit go back in and check that boss right away? That save certainly suggests that Gambit is going to be doing that.
Yep, looks like that is the case. Don't blame him. Again, at least getting the intel for this and, hoping you run across a free boss, always worth doing it. And he is going to run across that free boss, so that is going to put him exactly in the same position Kyrios is in.
Yeah, now, if I'm Gambit here, I am going to take the boss here, but I don't yet have the equipment with this party where I'm willing to go up to the Moon at this point. So I think Gambit is highly likely to do possibly an Eblan raid immediately after this. I might be going to one of the other loot spots if necessary, or I might even just head directly over to the Hook Road in an effort to get underground.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how our runners approach from right here. This could be... we might be looking at quite some divergence here.
Yeah, and yeah, although it's already been asked in the chat, I will take the opportunity to say that yes, the hook was found in Fabul. We see Kyrios, interesting enough, also in Fabul right now. Possibly not intent on heading up to the moon sooner rather than later, but this is the last key item check that Kyrios can do in the overworld. So Kyrios knows that this is either the hook or something which is going to lead to it.
Yeah, it's also worth pointing out that it really affects too much here, but that Odin check is considered out of logic. It is assumed that you'll go underground before you come and do the Odin check. So if for instance that couldn't be the hook on the Odin throne.
Yes.
So we know that it had to be somewhere else. Like you wouldn't have to go up to the moon either to get the hook. It's guaranteed to be somewhere that's accessible here on the blue planet.
Yeah, and as is being pointed out in chat, and this is something that I was going to get to on my own, although we do have the density of boss checks up on the moon, we're also at a point where there's quite a few boss spots that aren't available to us yet either. We do have at least 6 which are immediately available to us just by heading underground on its own. That's 2 in Dwarf Castle, 2 from both halves of the tower check, and the 2 in the Fate March, as well as all of the key item checks down there. And there's several key items that we haven't found yet that lock boss spots. That would be the Earth Crystal, the Luca Key. Those are the only 2 that I can immediately see that we don't have access to right now.
And of course, Zot 1, always the wild card.
Gambit is heading directly into Cave Eblan, is not checking the castle today. I think this is going to be a long-term disadvantage for Gambit here. I'm
wondering if maybe this is just a quick check to see if there are hourglasses in here.
That's certainly possible.
That's been a real popular play, is checking the Eblan shop first, if you've got the hook, before going to the Eblan Castle. So it wouldn't surprise me if he checks the shop and then backs out.
Yeah, and we do see Gambit at the inn here. We're going to see a check of the item shop here immediately afterwards, selling some items first. But if this is, hourglasses, if this is coffins, those are the 2 most useful things that we can find here if we're thinking of doing a check of Eblan Castle itself. So let's see what we've got. There's coffins.
Coffins quite nice.
I would say that increases the chances of a castle check here, but no, Gambit is heading over to the weapon and armor shops. Finding a few interesting things there. Cat claws for Yang are the purchase of the moment, it seems.
Yeah, effectively, under normal circumstances that you don't need to hit an elemental weakness, the best equipment for Yang, but no, it looks like Gambit's going all the way, is going to pass on Eblan Castle.
Yeah, so is opening some chests on the way. Not opening all of the chests, but we might find that 2 Staleman chests here. We might get something of value from it, but fading the castle is going to leave Gambit at a huge equipment disadvantage here.
And I mean, I like the guts. It's an unorthodox play to leave Eblan Castle unlooted with this kind of party on this flag set, but unfortunately, we know from Kyrios going in there that's likely the wrong play.
Yeah, Gambit does find the 2 Staleman chests here. Kyrios, not inclined to loot, is going to be walking right past Gambit doing this check here, and will be taking the lead. So it's still relatively early on, but I think Kyrios at this point is in a very advantageous position.
Absolutely. Now, if Gambit's able to pull a crystal sword from this chest, first of all, what is this seed then? Second of all, that would go a long way to getting him back up to parity with Kyrios.
Right, that is a Rubicante sprite sitting in the Rubicante boss spot. That's a 50% chance of being the vanilla Rubicante and a 50% chance of being elements in that boss spot.
Yeah, I don't like that. That's a little spooky to me.
Yeah, it's you don't want to find high magic bosses in that spot, and Rubicante certainly fits into that category. Okay, we do of course have the King Queen Eblan boss spot to worry about as well. You don't want to see something which hits physically fairly hard in that spot, so we still have plenty of nasty bosses on the table which could be in that first boss spot as well. Gambit taking a few punches here from the Stalemen. We can see how fast these are hitting and how hard they are hitting. Fortunately, Gambit has enough damage to get us through the fight. Everyone's still standing. Let's see if this was worth it. Just a ninja hat.
I mean, a good piece of kit, but not the kind of thing that that Gambit really wants to see right now.
I'm inclined to think here that Gambit is also going to look for the Mad Ogre's chest in the tower. Maybe not go out of their way to find that chest, but that's Dark Imps in the King Queen Eblan spot. This is one of those quote-unquote free boss fights. We've got the coffins in hand. These Dark Imps, they don't have the boss bit set. We can instantly kill them. No experience from the spot, so we're not going to see any life glitches as you would see with the Dark Imps elsewhere. But they hit really hard here.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to do a little bit of party maintenance here to make sure Porum is taking a dirt nap. Want to keep her as the anchor. Looks like that's the long-term plan here. And then those coffins are going to make quick work of this fight.
And there's Gambit finding the Mad Ogre's chest as expected. Has a couple of hourglasses from loot elsewhere where we see one of those come out just to put a stop to the ogres.
I love this heads-up play by Gambit here. They heal Cecil up, but keep everybody else in critical health. That lets Cecil do that auto cover that he does on any of party member in critical health. That helps Gambit survive this initial wave of attacks by the Mad Ogre before you can get the hourglass out. Really heads-up play there.
And lo and behold, here is Vanilla Rubicante.
Yeah, not fun. It's a little bit of a slog because you're going to be facing these Fire 2 counters on every physical attack.
Yeah, any physical attack on Ruby brings out the Fire 2 counters. These, they do middling, not completely trivial, but not completely harmless damage. The glare that comes out in Ruby's fight script is most likely going to kill whoever it hits. Good night, Yang. Yeah, 1,800 damage. That's more than the health of anyone in Kyrios' party here.
So this is another chance at some high-tier loot here for Gambit, hoping they're able to pull something big.
Just a refund on that hourglass.
Yeah. Oof.
Ooh. This is unfortunate.
Yeah, really, Eblan Castle is the place to be today.
Yeah. I mean, Eblan Castle certainly does get a reputation as the place to go in T-Wildish loot seeds, just usually not to that extent. But Rubicante is down on Kyrios' side. We've got enough power to bring to bear on Rubicante to end that fight fairly quickly here.
Yeah, sub 40 minutes into the underground. That is an incredible time, no matter how you slice it.
Yep. I mean, in the popular Falcon percent flag set, the objective is just to get here as quickly as possible and launch the Falcon as quickly as possible. I normally consider about half an hour to be a top tier time in that. Well, we do see the Magus Sisters at the top of the lower half of the tower here.
Yeah, it looks like the sisters, not content over in Zot, wanted to ask for a transfer to the other tower.
Yeah. It do be like that sometime. Much harder to commute up to Zot, I suppose.
Yeah, it's fair. I just, you got to appreciate that Golbez is, good enough to allow change of life opportunities like that for his employees.
All right, so Kyrios is now underground, has the Falcon in hand here. Where are we going first here? With the tower key in hand, Kyrios just lands the Falcon immediately and is going to be heading directly into that tower to take both of the key item checks here and possibly find one of the bosses we're looking for in the super cannon room.
Yeah, might as well leverage those key items that you have. Not a terribly difficult fight up on the top if he wants to look for more key items. So yeah, a lot of options here for Kyrios.
Yeah, and Kyrios, of course, has that mute knife. We have an Edge. We have Masamune for Edge's other hand here. That fight at the top of the tower is going to go by extremely quickly if he chooses to take that. Okay, Gambit, meanwhile, also electing not to use some of those coffins. Oh, actually has more coffins than I thought. I saw the individual coffin at the bottom of their inventory and thought that we weren't using them. But no, there's more than that.
Yeah, elected to throw the hourglass, and my only assumption is Gambit's thinking, okay, well, I've invested this already into it. The fight's free. I'll take the time loss to hold on to these coffins for
So
something.
this is interesting. Kyrios went as far in the tower as checking the super cannon room and found Lunar is there and reset back out to the bottom of the tower. So he's just interested in seeing who the boss there was.
Yeah, very much a face check kind of mode here for Kyrios. Just wants to find those bosses and find them quickly. Not interested in key item hunting.
Yeah. Okay, Kyrios is in Dwarf Castle, finds hourglasses for sale there. Will be rolling for any other future fights we see, and is now heading up to check the dwarf bosses. That's Ashura in the first boss spot. Not one of the bosses we're looking for.
But another one of those bosses that Mute Knife is going to make quick work of.
A Mute Knife in the right seed in Free Enterprise can make all the difference. Especially on boss hunt heavy seeds like the Blue Moon and Red Moon flank sets. So Edge here is probably going to hit for at least 3,000 damage of swing. Not to mention we've got Avenger Cecil getting some hits in as well.
Yeah, a little bit of item management over here on Gambit side. They don't have that overwhelming power advantage from Eblan Castle that Kyrios does, so a little bit more thought being put into the setup. That Ice Claw on Yang is going to do some work. Yeah,
Yep.
That's big damage. That is big damage.
Yeah,
you might say that why not take advantage of the Mute Dagger on Rubicante? Well, he's not a mage type in this fight. He's only a mage type in the Elements fight for some reason.
Yep. For whatever reason. We do see, of course, Rubicante only counters direct attacks with the fight command. So Yang's power punches and Edge's darts do not trigger that counter here, and neither does Kane's jump for that matter. So Gambit will be getting through this fight in relatively short order as well. Ooh, Kyrios resets out of the Ashura fight. That didn't go quite as well as we would have hoped for. So puts the Mute Knife directly on Edge. I believe keeps the Avenger on Cecil, which may have been what caused some of those problems the first time around. Kyrios no longer has the hourglasses that he bought, of course, having not saved between purchasing them and taking the wipe in that fight.
Yeah, you got to hope that's something he's going to remember, that he doesn't have those, because that is something very, very easy to forget between saves.
Yeah. Wow. Yang is out again on Gambit's side.
Yeah. Rubicante knows where the damage is coming from.
Yes, exactly.
On that party.
Getting a bit of a heated response here.
Yeah, you can see the fire in his eyes when he targets Yang.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. With that Mute Knife on Edge in the Ashura fight, this appears to be going significantly better for Kyrios. Here comes the Berserk.
Yang is back up and building up his burning spirit.
I'm sure those punches get a bit of a cold reception. Alright, Ashura is down on Kyrios' side, so we'll see who the other boss in Dwarf Castle is and if there's value here today in just a few moments.
Yep. A lot of HP Gambit has to get through, but they're really clawing through it.
Yep. Yang takes another glare. There's a Lunar Sparkle in the second Dwarf Castle boss spot. We're running out of sparkles this could be. It's just Ogopogo. I say just, but those big waves are going to do 50% of your party's damage, no matter where Ogopogo turns up. This boss spot only has 3,000 hit points, and the next swing from Edge or Cecil is going to end this fight.
There we go. Gambit gets through, and they are into the underground. Not honestly very far behind Kyrios. Just about a 6-minute difference right now.
Yeah. Okay, I'm very curious to see where Gambit is going to head right away here. Again, we've got that tower key in hand. You might be inclined to do the key item checks in tower. A dwarf is less attractive here than it might be in other Blue Moon scenes due to that lack of warp, as I explained earlier. So, we only get the key item from dwarf proper, rather than getting this and the sealed cave key item here.
Yeah, and so far we're, 4 bosses deep in the underground, and none of them boss we're looking for. This might be a little bit of a loaded moon tonight.
Yeah. A vaunted moon, if you will.
Haven't seen it much. We've seen a lot of haunted moons as of late. Would love to see the moon pay off for once.
Ooh, and that's something our audience will love to see. That's the twin harp as the dwarf key item. We'll see if there's value there if our runners feel like it. While the Cave Magnies check is a fan favorite, it does take an extended amount of time due to how long it takes both to get to Cave Magnies, to walk down to the boss fight, and to sit through the cutscenes before you can see who that boss is and what the key item there is.
Ooh, Gambit immediately landing. They might be thinking about making a similar play to Kyrios.
That save at the bottom suggests that you might see a reset out of this upon checking who the boss in the super cannon room is as well. Kyrios in Tomra finds some Cure 3s in the item shop there.
That's 2 shops with no Sirens. That might be, well, I'd say that might be sort of a hang up in the seed, but we've got Edge available. We can steal all the Sirens we need if they don't show up.
Okay, Kyrios is now heading down into the Feymarch, which has another gated shop, as well as 2 boss checks of the same difficulty as that Odin boss check. So the fights down here can be quite tricky depending on who shows up here. We're kind of running low on those free boss fights, the water hags, the guards, that we might be able to take easily here. We do get a free key item check just by coming all the way down here, which this next chest that Kyrios opens is that check. And it is a spoon, which will be a very nice thing for Edge to have. We do have an Edward in the seed, but I think it's unlikely that either runners will be going back to pick up Edward specifically for that.
Pick Edward up. We need more damage.
I mean, Edward with the spoon in hand. Of course, that's not something which is in the base game. It's a flag that we have enabled in Free Enterprise for this flag set and many flag sets actually, where Edward, will fall over at a stiff breeze, is one of the most capable damage dealers of the game in that in hand. Speaking of dealing damage, we did see Kyrios checked the shop in Feymarch and found Bacchus wine. So you can see a stack of that in Kyrios' inventory right now. That's the Insta Berserk over and above the Avenger that we've got for Cecil that we're looking for the rest of our party members.
Yeah, I do want to point out one big difference here. Gambit did take the Lunar fight here in the Super Can. We're having a little bit of stream issue, but they did take that fight down. So that can put them in a much different spot than Kyrios was at as far as key items available.
Yeah. So while we run through this time, I wouldn't be surprised if Gambit also chose to check the top of tower with that Mega Sister's fight being as free as it is with that mute knife in hand. But we will have to wait and see, I think. Kyrios not having found any of the bosses that he's looking for in the Feymarch, that was Dark Elf and Calbrina, the dolls fight. Has chosen to reset out and is now, for whatever reason, of course, is heading up to check the Twin Heart.
Yeah, that's 6 bosses underground and none what we were looking for. So, yeah, this might be some bosses in some strange places.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think we would be heading up here. It takes sufficiently long to walk through the moon and do all of those checks. You don't want to have to do it more than once if you can possibly avoid it. And Zeromus, the final boss fight, which our runners will going to need to get to, is at the bottom of the moon. There is a shortcut to get down there by way of the pass, which neither of our runners seem to have found yet. But ideally, you want to end the seeded position where you find that last boss somewhere on the moon, towards the bottom of the moon, ideally, and then just walk down to the Zeromus fight in order to take it. So, I'd be inclined to believe this is a play by Kyrios to avoid going up to the moon as long as possible, at least up until we find that pass.
But thank you, Zalde, our tracker, for checking. It was an Excal from the tower key, so that's good news for Gambit. Gambit did not get that crystal sword, so Cecil coming online. Obviously, Excal not as good as a crystal sword, but still a very, very good piece of gear for Paladin Cecil.
Absolutely. Alright, and Kyrios has reached the cutscene Dark Elf fight. If you let Dark Elf do its thing here, well, in order to cast its traditional Fire Ice Lightning combo, Fire Lit Ice combo, and then cast Weak, at which point the fight automatically ends afterwards. If you can kill off your party before then, the cutscene ends sooner, but right now is one of chat's favorite scenes, an upcoming performance by DJ Spoony Bard. So we'll let you have a listen to that. So I'm sorry, Edward, but as threatening as Wyvern can be in this spot, this isn't a career day seed, and I don't think Wyvern is any near as threatening as Neo X Death is.
No, Wyvern doesn't even have 4 targets. Like, I
exactly.
mean.
All right, Kyrios. Well, Wyvern is one of the bosses we're looking for. Just gets a Dragoon Lance for his trouble. Might be handy. We've found all of our dragon type bosses already, so maybe less handy, but might come in handy later for some of the various grinds that are possible for our runners, since many of them involve dragon type enemies.
Yeah, now I'm curious, since Kyrios is in the area, if we might get a Zot1 check here.
I do see some life potions coming out. Generally, you wouldn't be doing this here unless you were prepared to do a check on spot. So this does suggest to me that Kyrios is going to be heading into Zot to make that first boss check.
Yep, here it is. I love it. I really love the Zot1 play. It's such a gutsy call because this is kind of a substantial walk, and you don't have the Earth Crystal to finish it off. But we're running out of non-moon boss spots. You're in the area, give it a go.
Yeah, like traditionally, most runners in most past flag sets, most runners wouldn't bother heading up here without the Earth Crystal in hand due to the long walk. But as we're about to see, it is possible to check the Mega Sisters boss spot, the first of the 2 boss spots in the Tower of Zot, without the Earth Crystal. The only reason you would ever want to do this is if you were checking to see who the boss here is, which fits very well with this flag set. And with 5 of the 8 bosses that we are looking for, and 7 required, it makes perfect sense to do this right now.
I love that technique that Gambit just showed off, the going in through the Dwarven pot entrance and then exiting back out so you can still get to your airship.
Yeah.
Really, really cool play there. Just Baigen in the Zot, so no paying off.
I mean, Baigen can, of course, be one of the bosses that we're looking for, but not in this seed. So instead, Kyrios is now, having exhausted all of the currently available boss checks on the blue planet, heads to Mystidia to launch the Lunar Whale, and while it will shortly, most likely be heading up to the moon, but possibly could also be headed to the Giant of Babel instead.
Yeah, this is interesting, because correct me if I'm wrong, but we still haven't found Sirens yet, have we?
We have not found Sirens yet. I would think here that the play might be to check the moon shop first, and if it were me, I would probably do the Giant before I do the rest of the moon. I've got the power to do it, and I want to end at the bottom of the moon if I can possibly get away with it.
Yeah, that would be ideal, because getting the crystal when you're already deep in the lunar subterrain is sort of the perfect ideal routing there. So yeah, I agree. That would definitely be what I'd be looking for.
All right. Meanwhile, Gambit is also in the Fame Arch. We'll be finding that spoon as well, and we'll be checking the bosses here in just a few moments. Neither of the bosses that are here would necessarily make me inclined to want to take either of the fights here. But we might see otherwise from Gambit. And Kyrios, rather than checking the shop, is in fact headed to the Giant first.
I love it. I love to see it. But yeah, you're absolutely right. When you've already got the Darkness Crystal in hand, you're not going to want to fumble around with the Fame Arch bosses for key items that can only lead to like 1 or 2 boss checks top. So yeah. In fact, I think the only key items left only lead to 1 boss check. So
correct.
I don't think it's worth the trade now unless you absolutely have to go there.
Yeah. We would be looking for the Earth Crystal, which gains 1 boss, the Package, which gains 1 boss, and the Luca Key, which gains 1 boss. So that's 3 boss spots we can't get to yet. It is certainly possible that all 3 of those bosses that we're looking for are behind those checks, or at the very least that 2 of them are behind those checks. That's unlikely, but it's not impossible. So a lot of the time, you're not necessarily inclined to want to check the bosses on the Giant here sooner rather than later. The boss in the Element spot, the first of the 2 bosses here, both has 65,000 health, the most of any boss spot in the game, but also has 89 agility, the most speed of any boss in the game. So this fight can be a tremendous slog if the wrong boss shows up here. Like Golbez.
That's a boss.
It's one of the bosses here. You're both happy and very unhappy to see this.
The good news here is once things stabilize, Cecil is going to absolutely chew through this.
Oh, yes.
Golbez has a weakness to holy damage, and that Crystal Sword is going to hit that weakness very, very hard.
Yeah, but that will require us to get to that point in the fight. Golbez's opening move, much like the cutscene in which this fight originated, is to paralyze your party using the hold gas move. This can be avoided in a few ways, but we have access to none of those right now. Well, I guess technically we would have access to something like size, but that would be more of a detriment than anything with this party composition. We'll summon Shadow Dragon, which will instantly kill 3 of your party members, or attempt to instantly kill 3 of your party members. Shadow goes away. You're left to face Golbez flinging spells at your party extremely quickly while you attempt to pick up your party again and get everyone up and running. And of course, Porum, our anchor, is one of the 2 party members that's left up and running here. Fortunately, the magic power in this spot is not particularly high, so even though it still did 700 damage to that Porum and spares us the need to knock that anchor down. But right now we're left with 1 party member. And Edge, as well equipped as he is not going to be able to deal enough damage to defeat Golbez here by himself. So this is going to be a race to see if we can get Cecil up and a Star Veil up to reflect those spells before Golbez, before the Star Veils wear off and knocks down our party members. But we do win the 50-50 immediately after picking up Cecil. Cecil gets the Star Veil off. This fight should go fairly smoothly from here.
Yeah, some great coin toss calls there by Kyrios to get Cecil ready. Now here, the pain can start. Cecil just needs to swap to that Avenger or put a Bacchus on himself. That
works too. You see,
a little less inventory shuffling. Yeah, and there's the big numbers.
Yeah, at this point, there's no way that Cecil doesn't do enough damage to end the fight before the Star Veils start wearing off here. So this is a soft fight. We just want to see if we can get some more party members up before Golbez.
Yeah, and you definitely want to with the amount of experience at this spot, because this is going to significantly cut into how much grinding you need to do.
Yep. Okay, in the meanwhile, Gambit is now also in Cave Manganese. We'll be finding that Wyvern as well. But Golbez is down on Kyrios' side, bringing Kyrios to 6 bosses.
Yeah, that is such a good position to be at. Assuming that boss number 7 isn't right here at CPU spot,
which is certainly
going
possible.
Up to the moon going up to the moon with only 1 boss to find, you can just face check everything. Likely one of those 2 remaining bosses is going to be up there, and you can just waltz into the core.
Okay, so Golbez is down. Gambit rapidly coming up on an encore performance from DJ Sweeney Bard. But we'll also see in just a second who the second CPU boss is and how hard we're going to have to look through the moon, if at all, in order to find that last boss. The 1 HP Kamikaze is enough to knock out Gambit's party soon enough to end that cutscene. But
every second counts.
Yeah.
But how about a Neo X Death reprise here?
Yeah. Well.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's big, but we'll get to it later.
Ooh, oh no! With that cane in the center spot there, that wyvern just obliterates Gambit's party. You hate to see it.
Yeah, and goodness, it's been a hot minute since he saved.
Yes.
Saved, excuse me.
That's deeply important. But we did see, as that gasp would have told you a few minutes ago, that Odin, one of the two other bosses that we're looking for, is the second boss in the Giant, meaning the Giant is both hard acquired, and Kyrios now has 7 bosses that they need, and we can get the crystal in it for Gambit. So we're basically a grind and a walk down to the bottom of the moon away from Kyrios into the seed. Okay. So, as I would expect, the first thing that Kyrios is doing is looking in the moon shop. We're going to be looking for Sirens here, I think. This is going to determine what kind of grind Kyrios will be doing before heading down to the Zeromus fight. There are, in fact, Sirens available there.
So that's very good news for Kyrios. That makes things substantially easier.
All right, so now the likely approach here. We've got those hourglasses, and well, actually, Kyrios probably still doesn't have those hourglasses. So this Kyrios might be a little bit disappointed to find that they don't have the hourglasses in a few moments. But what we're going to see here is there's a few floors in the Lunar subterrain. We're using a Siren. We'll give you a fight with 2 gold dragons. If you've got 10 key items, which I believe Kyrios does not, then you can get up to 180,000 experience from those fights. Half that if you've got less than key items. That's assuming you get the life glitch in on the dragons, of course.
And yeah, no hourglasses, but still does have that Artemis bow and Artemis arrow, so can still
Not to mention,
fights out really quick.
yeah, we don't have a cane in the party on Kyrios' side at this point, but there's also that Druid lance, which Gambit might find useful for that same purpose later.
Absolutely. Y2 Sky asking, any freebies left? Because tempted to peek Ribbon Room in case you had to get that 10th key item. I think we've seen most of the freebies. I think the only one...
Yeah, the other
Baron Guards, yeah?
Yeah, Baron Guards is the only one that I can think of. Yeah, few other possible options here. If you found Mute Bells or a Mute Caster somewhere, you might take Warlock fights. So that's not going to be as efficient as the Gold Dragon fights are likely to be.
The one, the only Rivers McCann with the raid. Thank you very much. Hope you are doing well tonight, sir.
Yeah. Welcome, Raiders.
Oh, and Zaldi at this point, King Queen Eblan, that is another one that we have not seen.
Correct.
So yeah, that is a good point. I would probably peek in there just to make the grind a little bit shorter. And it's no small amount of experience from that fight anyway, if it's something that's free.
Okay, so the floor that Kyrios is passing through with the 2 staircases is one of the spots where we can get these gold dragon fights. This equip right here suggests that we're going to see Kyrios starting to pop those Sirens right here, right now. Lo and behold, here come the Sirens.
We're having some stream issues over on Gambit's side. We'll get that fixed ASAP.
7 Sirens, 4 hourglasses. This will be enough. I don't necessarily think Kyrios will be using all of the Sirens with not having enough hourglasses to do that. We do have enough power to just outright kill the gold dragons, even if we don't have the hourglasses on them. Just makes it a little bit more annoying. back up with Gambit, and is back at the Wyvern fight. Appears to have turned battle speed down, so we do see those Star Veils coming out.
Yeah, this should be much more safer. Should be able to get through this no problem now.
Yeah, in fact, that's 4 Star Veils out. Everyone's going to live through this except for our anchor here. Kane deserves to be betrayed every now and again to see what it feels like. But yes, Gambit's through that fight is now also at 6 of 7. We'll be getting that Dragoon Lance as well, which will be a handy addition for Kane for any future grind purposes. And we will see where Gambit goes from here. We know that 2 of the 3 bosses we're looking for are on the Giant, so ideally that's where Gambit would be going here first. Again, without that passing hand, it's a more attractive play, I think.
Yeah, most certainly.
Okay, Gambit exits out. We'll be seeing where they're going in just a few moments. Kyrios is grinding their way through some of these gold dragons. This will be a little bit on the slow side as far as grinds go due to that lack of key items, but you don't want to have to go hunting around for any more key items when you've got the crystal and you just need to finish heading down the rest of the moon to fight Zeromus.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyrios is completely focused on the goal right now, wants to get this done, get it over with, get his party to the part where they can easily survive those big bangs, and then get this seed over with. Gambit going in to check the Mist Cave. I'm trying to recall if Kyrios made this check.
I believe so. It was just Mylon.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, it was just Mylon, yeah.
But yeah, with the focus Kyrios is giving here, that must make these gold dragons. Alright, Gambit going to launch the whale. Kyrios still has a couple of Sirens to get through here. Still has a couple of hourglasses to burn.
Kyrios, yeah, very much just kind of easing through this grind, though. You could say he's Kyriosing through these gold dragons.
Alright, the moment of truth rapidly approaching on Gambit's side here.
Yep, we know that the Giant is hard required. Want to see Gambit make that play here.
Yeah. Alright, Kyrios is done with the grind. We'll be walking right past the save. I'm presumably is going to save before continuing to walk down the rest of the moon. Does a little bit of party rearrangement, saves, and is just a few floors away from entering the final fight of the seed with Zeromus. And any moment now, I think we're going to start seeing some flags in chat.
There they are. You're psychic.
It's as though we've been here before or something.
Now, why were you expecting to see flags, Escrunt?
Well, it is getting fairly late in the evening here. It's, I could use a nap at the end of all of this, but so something tells me that's not what chat is trying to communicate to us here.
Do you think, and this is just wild speculation, do you think they're trying to signal the fact that we haven't randomized Zeromus' location, but instead randomized his sprite from a pool of, I don't know, let's say 500 plus sprites, many of which drawn by community admin Scala Kitty herself?
Yes, you certainly might say that. I couldn't possibly comment.
I mean, that just a wild idea.
Yeah, but it's getting to that point where we're entering the final fight, and we have just one question that we would like to ask heading into this fight. And Sweetie, would you like to do the honors tonight?
Whose butt are we gonna kick tonight?
There are, of course, many other such supplementary questions. Is it cute?
Is the butt cute?
Does it have a hat? What instrument will it play tonight?
Right. Does the hat have a butt? Is the hat's butt cute?
Does the hat have a hat?
Do we have anything with a hat on a hat? We might need that.
There are a few that I could make that argument for sure.
Oh,
I'm going to go with not cute and no hat.
I mean, I'm always on team all butts are cute. So. I can't put this aside. Can anyone in chat identify this one?
Oh, this is from Secret of Evermore.
Okay.
All right. But yeah, there's many different ways you can get through this Zeromus fight. What you're going to see here from Kyrios is one of the simplest possible ways that you can get through it. If you've got enough physical damage, you just berserk everyone, they hit Zeromus, Zeromus eventually dies. Simple as that. The other thing we're going to see here, of course, is Kyrios has Porum throw the crystal at Zeromus again. Why might Kyrios be doing that?
Well, you want to nerf those big bangs by making a counter nuke go out, where Zeromus voluntarily lowers his magic attack for that, but it does not reset it before the big bang goes out, so you get a big bang and a lower magic attack, which is very useful, and of course just having them slowed in general.
Yeah, well, in this case, this is a crystal toss, but...
right, well.
Yeah, in most cases, you'll see runners do that with a Silk Web, which, of course, sets Zeromus to its slowest possible speed for any given fight, and will also have that nerfing effect. Now, the very first big bang of the fight, you can do that, you can cast that spell, you can trigger that counter nuke anytime to trigger that reduction in spell power. For subsequent big bangs, you have a very tight timing window in which to do it.
Yeah, and that it is can't be overstated how tight that window is. It is very, very difficult to hit consistently.
But with the amount of damage that Kyrios is putting out here, I don't even think we're going to get that far. This fight is going to be over well before Zeromus has the chance to do much of anything else.
Yeah, you always say there's no such thing as a free Z fight, and that's still very much the case. But this is as close as you can get to it. It's you're basically chewing through HP so fast that it's not going to even get a chance to use that threatening attack.
Yep. There's the shake, which is signal a second big bang. I think Zeromus dies before that comes out. We might. There's a chance. I'm not quite sure that we're putting out enough damage to entirely negate Zeromus' following actions. So I think we might see one last Meteor here before the fight ends. Nope, I'm wrong. There is, in fact, enough time for a second big bang to come out. This is going to be full power. No one's, except possibly Rosa, is going to die here. Even Rosa live.
So that's good news for Rosa.
But yes, there is the correct boom, and Kyrios has won this first game in the round of 3 with a final time of 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 44 seconds. GG's to Kyrios.
GG's indeed. Very decisive finish there, and I believe we are joined by Kyrios himself. Congratulations on your win tonight.
Thank you so much.
So how did it feel having that high quality of loot from Eblan Castle for once?
I mean, it's nice because it basically turns off looting for the rest of the game, which I think I hasn't scrolled by yet, but I think I ended with like 37 chests or something, and that just always feels good to get through a seed. And as much as I love being a loot goblin at heart, you're generally faster when you're not.
Yeah, definitely, and it just overwhelming power on all fronts here. Are these the kind of seeds you prefer, or do you sort of prefer the ones where you feel like you can get an advantage with like unorthodox tactics, or just is the comfort of power overwhelming, just kind of where you excel?
Yeah, I mean, I've played enough practice seeds and race seeds at this point that I've got experience on all of them. I actually think the more complicated ones are a little more fun, but certainly it seems my results on this kind of seed have tended to be pretty good. So I'm happy to see it. I mean, you got to play what you get either way, and the rando worked out well, so I'm not going to complain with this one.
Yeah. Yeah, so a couple more specific questions here. So on your way up Ordeals, you have most of your final party. You've got Cecil, Yang, Rosa, and you have a Kane in the party, and of course Yang. And Porum turns up this character. You chose to take that Porum and swap Porum in for Kane. What was your thinking behind that decision?
So I definitely wanted an anchor, so Porum was coming in either way, and the Kane versus Yang decision has come up a few times. I think obviously Kane's more useful early, but given that I already had Edge and I had Cecil about to come online, Kane, he's fine. He just doesn't add that much to that party unless you've already got like a Dragoon Spear or a White Spear in hand. I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to have someone who's zerking for like 2.5k in the Z fight. There's no real difference.
Well, I mean, you're not necessarily going to get that high-end gear for Edge or Cecil in any given seed, but generally, yes.
Yep.
Walk me a little bit through your routing here. Obviously, the big play here was going to Giant first. What was sort of your thinking of deciding to do Giant before Moon? What was kind of the calculus going through your head here?
Yeah, there's been a lot, both in the Blue and the Red Moon, kind of some meta plays and a lot of theory casting around like what you should do first, at what number of bosses done, and whether you have the pass or not. And especially sitting with no pass in that position, I wanted to make sure that if I was going to the Moon, I wasn't coming back in most scenarios. I was pretty comfortable. Honestly, the biggest drop was the Twin Harp, so that I could have 3 spots I couldn't get to instead of 4. Felt a lot more comfortable there, and at that point I was just going to face check everything, so let's make sure that I only have to go down the LSD once.
So, speaking of face checking things, a little bit earlier on in the seat, at the moment that you first set foot underground, you immediately went into the tower and looked to see who the boss at Super Cannon was, and then just reset out and immediately headed over to the rest of the underground checks. Did the thought occur to you to, maybe make the key item checks? You don't have, at that point in time, you don't have, I think, 4, maybe more of the gating key items that you would be looking for. So, did you just expect to find bosses elsewhere, or what was the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, to me, the line of what I'm comfortable is somewhere between 3 and 4. I think 3 is definitely more comfortable, but I think even at 4 at that point, the odds are slightly in favor of just face check everything for the rest of the game. I did think the odds were pretty good that I would get at least 1 boss covering key item for the rest of the underground, because I had the pan, which I never had to bonk, but that's got several chances at being something too. There's definitely an alternate pathing where you do the rest of the underground first, and then you do maybe both bosses in the tower if you don't see a key item. But like I said, I think I was pretty happy with how that turned out.
Yeah, everything was just kind of coming up big for you. This was a very, very strong start to this series. You're up 1-0 now. How are you feeling going into game 2 and your chances for the rest of this match?
It's funny, coming into this, I was a lot less nervous than I had been for most of the tournament, and that has nothing to do with the quality of my opponent. Obviously, Gambit's been playing a great tournament, and they're a very strong runner, but just the difference between best of 3 and best of 1 is just much more relaxing to have that opportunity to maybe make a mistake in a seed and not just be down to the waning bracket automatically. So I'm just going to keep playing my game in game 2 and game 3 if necessary, and we'll see how it goes.
Awesome. Have you worked out when game 2 is going to be?
Tomorrow night, same time.
Awesome. I cannot wait. This is a fantastic race, just some real textbook play on both ends. So thanks so much for coming in and talking to us. Any final thoughts before we let you enjoy the rest of your night?
No, for sure. Thanks to the commentary team for putting on what I assume is a good show. I'll be watching it back. Smapety, S-Grunt. Thank you to Zalda and Neobari behind the scenes for everything you guys are doing, and thanks for putting on a good show for everyone.
You were the one that put on the show. We were just talking over it.
I'm just playing a game that's fun. I mean, whatever happens.
All right,
modesty contest. Let's go.
We're all in this together as far as I care.
Well, thank you so much. Been a pleasure watching your race today, and good luck tomorrow, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Thanks. You guys have a great night, too.
Take care. That was Kyrios, our winner tonight, taking game 1, and game 2 going to be tomorrow here at 8 o'clock, so make sure, 8 Eastern that is, so make sure to check it out.
Yeah. So over the course of that fight and that interview, Gambit has been steadily clearing their way through most of the moon checks at this point. Probably the most notable thing that's turned up from that is a crystal sword from the Ribbon Room, which Cecil is now swinging. But we also have the package, one of the remaining gating boss checks, and the pink tail, which will turn into a random high-tier item should Gambit choose to turn that in.
Yeah, the Crystal Sword is huge. That's going to be a major source of damage going through the rest of the seed and on Zeromus as well. So this seed is not long for this world for Gambit. They're going to get through the rest of this very quickly.
Yeah. And finds just a Legend Sword as the result of this Crystal Sword altar check. Alright, having cleared the Lower Moon, Gambit now exits out.
Yeah, got to assume that the Giant is the next thing on Gambit's mind right now.
Yep, Gambit sits foot on the well and now heads to the Giant. So, having done a little bit of grinding while on the moon as well, we'll be in a position to take these fights maybe a little bit faster than Kyrios did, although still has that equipment disadvantage. Which is, admittedly, with that Crystal Sword in hand, has been evened out considerably, but it's...
Yeah, it's going to be post-grind, and we're going to see quad 9s on Golbez, so that's going to be, what, 5 swings?
Yeah.
Maybe 6. I'm bad at math.
No. If it's only Cecil doing damage, it would be 7. But we're going to have some help from everyone else as well.
I'm really bad at math.
So, yeah, I think the only thing that we really need to know is that Cecil will be doing a number on Golbez here.
Yes. 100% Cecil is going to have the upper hand in this sibling rivalry.
Yep.
Spoilers for a 30-year-old Jaybird.
It's okay. We're in the place where we would find that out normally, right? Right?
Yeah, actually, we are. This is kind of.
No, that's only going to be after the second fight. Still,
place where destiny is made.
Yeah.
Shout out to Morrowind fans.
Okay, Gambit is now here entering the Golbez fight. We will see how this goes for them. But yeah, some interesting things about the Golbez fight. As much as we're not going to be seeing most of them, I don't think. You can prevent the hold gas from taking effect if you've got an item in hand, or equipped like a ribbon or an adamant armor or something. I think, the other aspect of those particular items is that they will also prevent Shadow's instant death attack from landing. So if you've got enough well-equipped party members, you can just enter the second phase of the fight with everyone standing. Other things...
One thing we've been seeing a lot this tournament that's really gained favor is if Rydia's in the party, since she's usually fast enough to throw a multi-target venom on your entire party before the hold gas. And because of the way status effect priority works in this, it won't take root. Won't do anything against the instant death, but it can help you set up.
Yeah, and while that's you can do that with Venom, you can do that with many other statuses. Most notably, we'll see this with Piggy for physical party members or Minnie for magic party members. Unfortunately, here we don't have anyone here who can cast Piggy, and it's a predominantly physical parties. And of course, we don't have anyone who can cast Venom either. But with that Rosa having set up that Star Veil in advance, that first virus and that second Lit 3 both bounce off of Rosa. So Gambit starts this fight with 2 people up. So at this point, we just need to pick up Cecil and let him go roar.
Yeah, very smart using that life 2 there. Get Cecil up at a massive amount of HP. So if he does get targeted like he does, then Cecil can just power on through with that massive HP pool. And Lit 3 hits Rosa, so Cecil's good to go.
Yeah, not quite quad 9s, but that's still lots of damage.
Yeah, I'm gonna wonder if that Cecil is back rogue glitched.
I do believe we saw at least Gambit back row Cecil, so...
Okay. Then I'm just overestimating the damage you should be doing here. Yeah. It's still an absurd amount, and yeah, not long for this world goal. His Golbez.
Yeah. Well, Gambit wraps up this fight. This is, I think this is another excellent opportunity to once again thank both of our runners, Kyrios and Gambit, as well as Neil Bari in the restream booth, Zold pushing the buttons, and of course my co-commentator Smapey. All wonderful people. You should give them a follow.
You should follow S-Grunt too. He's not going to say it because it'd be really awkward for him to say that. So that's why I like pop in and do it. It's this like commentator rapport thing going on.
Yeah. Alright, but Gambit is through that Golbez fight, and in just a few moments we'll be finding that Odin will probably also be making fairly short work of that Odin, and subsequently having done most of that grind. Oh, this is interesting.
Gambit saying, I know Odin's there. I know it's got to be Odin. It would also be useful for Leviathan, I guess. Yeah, lightning weakness on both of these remaining bosses. So he's like, yeah, I'm getting ready for these bosses. Yep, there it is, and I've got the lightning.
Zerk the Young, as long as he survives these initial. Odin knows who the threat is.
I see the sparks on those claws. Almost gets through Edge in one hit.
Yeah, well, we've got Thunderclaw Edge, we've got Thunderclaw Young. This Odin is not going to last long enough to get that Odin off.
Yeah, just big damage. Nowhere near as much HP here as we had in the previous fight. And down goes Odin. Last few levels for this party, and Gambit is going to be headed to the Lunar subterrain to finish this off.
And of course, Gambit already having done most of their, probably all of their grinding with some of with those Lunar fights, with a couple of extra Gold Dragon fights in the mix, is probably just going to head straight to the bottom of the moon from here.
Yeah, we saw Rosa learn White in the last fight, so she is almost certainly at a decent enough HP pool to survive Big Bang. So yeah, Gambit probably just going to go straight to the boss.
Probably even less to worry about here than Kyrios would have. Yeah, Gambit now also in go mode. Probably just going to fly the whale directly to the moon from here. I'm real curious where that path would have turned out to be. Like, if you don't find it through, turning in the pan, you don't find it from full looting the moon, probably one of our other remaining gaining key items would have had it.
Yeah, question for chat, if anybody caught the spoiler log flowing through on Kyrios' screen, if anyone managed to catch where that pass was. I'm very curious.
My guess at this point is that it's probably going to be behind the Earth Crystal.
I say maximum trolling, and it was on one of the Fey March bosses.
That's also possible. I do remember there was a mention in chat somewhat earlier that the Dark Elf, who was one of the Fey March bosses, had the Luca key, which in turn led to that Earth Crystal.
Oh, that's a fun chain.
So probably either behind the Zot 2 boss, or as a result of fighting the dolls in Fey March. For that matter, I'm also real curious where Leviathan turned out to be.
What if Leviathan was down there in the sealed cave? Bahamut, Pale Dim Spot, or Ogo Spot. Gotcha.
Yeah, I can probably go back and look later if I really want to know. Zot was Magna Key. Okay. So I guess nobody's going to be going out of the way to get underground this time around.
We didn't get to say the thing this time.
Yep. Well, there's of course many scenarios in which you're just never going to find your underground access like that.
Which, I mean, with how barren the underground was today.
Yeah. Yeah, the overworld had all the value this time around. Well, of course, so did the giant, but technically, I argue you can technically call the giant the overworld as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's on the overworld.
Standing tall, looming over everything. Sure.
Technically, you never really needed to go underground this seed, did you?
Okay, where was the Darkness Crystal? The Darkness Crystal was in the Barren Basement. So, yeah, I don't think we got anything at all of value from all of the underground stuff.
Boy, that would have been a gutsy play to make, but kind of it would have paid off. Sirens.
Okay. I mean, now that I say that, where was our twin harp? Yeah, twin harp from Dwarf. Oh, that's the value we got from Underground.
That's right.
So whether or not that's accurate depends on where Leviathan is, because Leviathan, of course, didn't show up in any of the moon spots. So probably you would have needed to get Underground to get one of the two last bosses, be that Wyvern or wherever Leviathan turned out to be hiding.
But here comes Gambit, going to finish this show off for us tonight with another fight against the big old antlion miss. I forget what its actual full name.
Thraxmus. Is our cosplay of the evening. Yeah, I think with Rosa having white here, with the extra levels on Yan especially, we might be putting out even more damage than we saw from Kyrios here. So this might be even shorter of a fight.
Yeah, don't have exactly the same kind of hardware on Edge that Kyrios did, but much higher levels. And yeah, this I think you're right. This might be an even shorter fight.
So to get Cecil online, we're going to be seeing some pretty hard hits from Yan. We're going to be seeing some damage output from Edge. And probably, if we're lucky, we might get to see a reflected white or two. And if we time things absolutely correctly, with the way we've got Rosa in that top slot and Cecil in the bottom slot here, we might have the chance to skip Zeromus's HP refill here if things are timed correctly.
Yeah, especially if we still have that spoon around to throw. I don't think Gambit has thrown it yet.
I also don't think Gambit has thrown it yet. And in fact, there it is, and there it goes.
Spoon!
Spoon!
Away! There we go.
There it goes. 10,000 damage. Well, quad 9 damage, but close enough.
Well, significant digits it up or something like that. Again, I don't know anything about math.
Yeah, we do not see Gambit bothering casting any spells during that opening phase here. So that Big Bang came out at full power. Everyone except our Anchor Kane lived through that.
Yeah, I don't think we saw Silk Webs for sale anywhere, so
no.
Why bother? You're so much significantly more powerful than this. And Edge gonna keep throwing some hardware here.
Yeah, I mean, with that Crystal Sword in hand, we no longer need that X-Gal. It makes for a wonderful dart. Does almost 9,000 damage.
Yeah,
that's all hitting for a casual 6,000 damage.
Put out here.
Yeah.
And for a White Lance.
For good measure. Another 6,000 damage. Yeah, this is damage output. You'll love to see it.
Yeah, some good catharsis here for Gambit.
Okay, I think we're probably about 5 or 6 more swings away from this fight ending.
Yeah, get a shake here. I've got to assume that's a phase 2 shake with how much damage we've had gone out. We've got to be that deep in at this point.
Yeah.
And still finding things to throw. Yeah, blocks are falling. We are less than 12,000 HP away.
So no refill skip today, but this fight is sufficiently short that it just doesn't matter either.
Yeah, right you are.
Because with that final swing from Cecil, Gambit has also finished the seed with a final time of 1 hour, 35 minutes, and 5 seconds. GG's to Gambit.
Gambit, I believe they have joined us here. Gambit, fantastic race. Well done.
I find it ironic that it's a giant that cost me in this race, considering my penchant for going there.
Yeah, it was the giant, and one thing I want to ask: what the skipping Castle Eblan there? What was kind of your thought process that made you make that decision?
Speed. I've every race. I think there's only been one race that I've actually looted Castle Eblan. I've skipped it pretty much every other race. This race did not quite have the power I really wanted getting underground, but made up for it with that Ice Claw and Yong for that Vanilla Ruby, and did not have a reprise of, I think it was Valley Ho, where I got absolutely bodied by a Ruby there. But
finally.
Yeah, got my revenge this time. But Yeah, I've been trying to avoid doing any extra looting like the Eblan Castle checks. I know it pays out more often than not in this flag set, but just trying to kind of push through without it. I know from talking to Kyrios after the seed, there was a crystal sword in there as well as some other goodies that would have definitely helped matters.
Yeah.
But you know,
Tonight.
yeah, I mean, I just kind of pushed through and did the best I could, and I mean, I felt good, but I think all tournaments so far, my wheelhouse has been if the seed is like an hour 25 to an hour 45, that's like my wheelhouse. That's a good seed. Anything shorter, and I'm in trouble. Anything longer, I'm in trouble. And this one just happened to end up shorter if you made the right check, which I took the value play with the moon, and turned out it was all in a giant.
Yeah, and hardly can blame you for that. I mean, there's so much potential value there on the moon for checks, and yeah, just hard required giant is a wrench in anyone's routing.
Yeah, the worst part is if Atella had showed up in the seed, I'd probably go to that giant a lot earlier.
Oh yeah.
Especially again, considering my pitches for D machines and the fact that Sirens were on the moon, I would have 100% done a D money grind and probably taken that Edward and slingshot slingshot him too, which would have been quite fun.
No, we don't always get that Tella, and in fact, this time around, we didn't even get a black mage to be able to do any of that with, which doesn't happen very often, actually.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. It's like, no black mage. Well, I guess we're looking for a Luca key for that item, not only the boss, but ended up not being needed, at least.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Leviathan could still be there, but yeah.
Yeah, so one minor thing which has been sticking in the back of my mind since fairly early on in the seat. So you did go to Fabul fairly early, and which turned out had the hook there. But with the possibility of finding the pan early on, which as it turns out you could have found the pan even before you went to Fabul because it was at Bedward. And some players I know have a tendency to try to push off going to Fabul until after at the very least they can get underground if they can, if not turning the pan. So, what was your thinking behind going there as soon as you did?
That's kind of been my standard routing for this flag set. I've always every race I've done Ordeals first, into Fabul, into Hobbs, into Antlion, into Troya. And just I kind of work my way backwards around instead of doing the normal forward routing. Especially given an edge, I feel like I can get through Ordeals pretty easily with an edge, and made use of the vampire I got and darting those what felt like infinite dancing daggers I got at the very start. So that seems to be the routing that kind of works best for me, working backwards that way around. Mostly because when I get to Antlion and Hobbs and stuff, I'm already a lot higher level. I can get through those fights faster and make up any time that I feel like I might have lost on the Ordeals fights. Which then again, considering those Ordeal fights were 2 required bosses, again, hard required Ordeals, hard required giant this seed. So.
Yeah, well, at least in this case, it paid off, and depending on exactly where we got our key items, it certainly can make all the difference if you get to the right places early. So this you'll be entering the. We've heard from Kyrios that we'll be seeing the second round of this this time tomorrow evening, same time tomorrow evening, I suppose. Are you thinking about doing anything different from that, or what might you be? How are you going to approach going into the second round of this?
My plan's going to be to watch this one back later tonight and kind of see what Kyrios' routing was. I don't think there was too much routing wise that I could have done differently, with the exception of Giant over Moon.
Yeah.
I think the White to Wyvern also hurt, but yeah, it's Wyvern at Twin Harp with a Drain Spear, Cursed Ring, Cane as an anchor is never a fun time.
Yeah.
So that could have gone a little differently, but otherwise, I think my routing was pretty solid. I made good decisions in skipping top of tower and skipping the Fey March. It just little things that got me in this one. And I felt real good doing that water hag in Baron Basement so early and finding that Darkness Crystal. I was like, okay, this is not a spot that you normally check before you go underground, because depending on the boss here, you're going to just bounce off of it. getting through that, getting the Darkness Crystal, I'm like, okay, I think I got a leg up. I can get underground. I can do those checks. I've already got the Darkness Crystal. Again, turns out if I just gone to the moon, that Ribbon Room and White Sphere Altar were absolutely free.
Yeah.
And then got into Giant, it would have been, okay, cool, I'm in the driver's seat. But I mean, sometimes rando's going to rando. That's how it is. And nothing really I think I did wrong. Just some decisions that could have gone either way. And GG's to Kyrios. He's a great runner. I mean, getting this far, you have to be. And puts me in a 0-1 hole, and I've just gotta win 2 straight now, and definitely doable, but got my work cut out for me.
Yep. Well, I'm sure you'll be able to pull it off. Smeepty, do you have any last questions for Gambit here?
No. Just put on a great race, and yeah, like you said, Rando's gonna rando. Really excited to see you play tomorrow in Game 2, and just best of luck to you, Gambit. Always a pleasure to watch you race.
Yeah, thank you so much, Escrunts, maybe for doing the comms, Zay for doing the tracking, Neobari for this wonderful seed. All the restream work behind the scenes is always wonderful, and it's so great that we can put on so many races. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I don't know yet. I don't think it's been decided if we're going to get a restream tomorrow or not. If we are, I look forward to talking to whoever ends up on that. Otherwise, I will see everybody in the Khadgars, and hopefully can force a Game 3, which would be Friday if we get to that point. So we'll see. Here's hoping.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight, Gambit, and looking forward to the next race.
Hey, y'all have a great night.
Take care, Gambit.
All right, and while that might bring us to the end of the broadcast here on RPG Limit Break for this race this evening, we're certainly not done with Free Enterprise either for tonight or for the rest of this week. In just a few minutes, we will be hosting a match on the main Free Enterprise channel, the first match of the semifinals Red Moon matchup between Solaris and Morpheus. And tomorrow we've got a whole slate of matches as well. We've got, let's see here.
See, I've got it right here. We've got 7 p.m. Eastern. You can catch Cubs Rule 21 versus Y2 Sky. That's going to be on Free Enterprise 3. At 8 p.m., we're going to have Stupid Sexy Flanders versus Heart. That's going to be on RPG Limit Break. Going on at the same time of that, you can catch Nitsi versus Ismandi Games over on Free Enterprise 2. And at 9 p.m. Eastern, we will have Starman versus Dr. Cossack. That is going to be on Free Enterprise Prime. So we have got lots and lots of tournament action going on tomorrow. Be sure to check it out.
Yeah, and in addition, those aren't the only races that are happening tomorrow, because there's so much tournament racing going on right now that we can't handle the hype of restreaming all of them. So if you're interested in knowing a little bit more about the current state of the tournament and checking out maybe some of the other matches, like maybe our rematch between our 2 racers tonight, do feel free to join our Discord. In addition to us being a very welcoming community, we have all of the information about upcoming tournament matches posted there as well, at least a day in advance.
Yeah, we often have watching parties for all of the not restreamed races over in the Discord there. You can pull up the Khadgars with the multi-twitches and watch them with everybody. Always a lot of fun, so definitely head over to the Discord and check us out.
But that's basically it for us in the evening, so sit tight. As soon as we see that our next race is going live, we will be sending you over there. Thank you very much for watching tonight, and we hope you'll join us for tonight's last race as well.
Yep. Thanks so much for the rest of everybody behind the scenes here. Neobari handling the restreams, all they doing the tracking, and of course my phenomenal co-caster, S-Grunt. My name is Smeepty, and thank you so much for checking us out tonight.
And thank you for joining me in the booth tonight as well, Smeepty.
Been an absolute pleasure.